Hello, can everyone hear me? Uh,
Yes, Raghu.
you can.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
okay. A very good evening to everyone. I hope you all had a very productive previous session with the master of frames, Sanket sir, and that all your doubts regarding the same have been looked upon, or else you can always ask them in the questions column provided or in the next doubt session. So, first of all, today's session, as given in your schedules, will be about the basics of mobile photography. Every one of us carrying a cell phone keeps clicking something or the other that looks appreciating to our eyes, and cell phone camera has become a very handy tool for all of us. Keeping this in mind, I hope that after today's session, you will become one step better in creating some interesting pictures with the mobile phones. And as always, you know that the next step is for everything is practicing more and more and experimenting with the various things you see around in this world. So let's start. This is Raghavendra speaking from the presentation side, and I have been a part of this club since 3 years now. Okay, so let's begin with a question for you all. What's the difference between a digital camera and a cell phone camera? I mean, why do you use cell phone cameras when you can have DSLRs? So you can give your answers in the questions column, or uh, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I may repeat the question. That's what's the difference between a cell phone camera and a digital camera? Why we use cell phone cameras when we can have DSLRs as well? Okay, I'm getting answers such as cell phone cameras are affordable, they are more portable, they are really handy, and they're easy to carry. Okay, and they have a bit better AI processing in mobile phones. Okay, okay. Okay, keeping all these answers in mind, uh, from my perspective, I can say that cell phone cameras uh, are used more because they're more portable. Okay, you have given the answer. And digital cameras are mainly used by professionals because they are the main use of digital cameras or only for clicking photos and videos. And mobile phones are made for a multi-purpose. So a camera is just a basic necessity for a mobile in today's world. So they are not that well built for clicking professional photos. So many times you see that not no wedding photographers or professional or portrait photographers use mobile phones for clicking photos with their for their shoots. Okay. Um, so let's go ahead and we come to the next slide, which is okay. Uh, in today's generation, every one of us thinks that a camera which is more expensive or a phone which is more expensive can click more better photographs than the ones which are not. So this is a very big misconception about all. This is a very big misconception. So I can quote a quote from Peter Adams that a camera didn't make a great picture any more than a typewriter wrote a great novel. So what does this see exactly? So this is something which says that the camera does not the camera, but the photographer is the one that matters for the photo to become a very for better and more creative. So it's the perspective of the person who is clicking the photo which matters other than the camera which he uses. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with the first topic, which is subject alignment. So as you saw in previous session, Sanket sir explained you about the rule of thirds. So there is one concept in the rule of thirds, which is that our eye visualizes an object in the pattern from the left topmost column to the right column. So any picture you see, uh, the human has a tendency to see that left column. So according to the left side rule of visualization, you should always place your subjects, may it be a person or anything, in the left top corner, because it's not necessary for you to do it, but the picture becomes more appealing and it's a better image than the others. Okay. Uh, so this is a rule of thirds. So in my entire presentation, I've clicked some portraits and images of my sister Suhasini, who has helped me a lot in this presentation. So you'll be seeing her images a lot. So according to the rule of thirds, you have to keep your subject looking into the frame. So what does into the frame mean? So into the frame means that your subject should be always looking, your image should always be that composed that your subject is looking into the frame. That is, there must be more space where the subject is looking other than the other side. So as you see in this image, she's looking towards the right side, so there is more space on the right side, which gives some more appealing feel to the image. So, and as said, keeping a subject at the intersection points gives it a more dynamic photograph. So the photo looks better, and this is the rule of thirds, which is explained. Okay. So in yesterday's session, many of you asked, and in today's session as doubt session as well, that what is the Fibonacci spirals, and can you please explain it? Okay. So for understanding the Fibonacci spiral or the golden ratio, at first you see that you have to see the concept of the phi grid. So what is phi grid? It is just like the rule of thirds, but basically all the intersection points are centered in between for the image to look more precise and composed. So why not use the rule of thirds other than the period? Because rule of thirds does not always produce a balanced image when you have something which are more, what you can say, a more no non-symmetric images. So you get confused on how to use the rule of thirds in that occasions. Okay. So the next topic. So coming to golden ratio. So what is golden ratio? So you all must be thinking that golden ratio was invented just for using during the cameras for the cameras, but that's not the case. Because golden ratio existed well before the modern cameras birth. In the Egyptian times, when they built pyramids, they used the golden ratio. Even the artists in today's generation use the golden ratio to make the beautiful paintings. The world famous painting of Mona Lisa. So that painting was also made using the keeping the golden ratio in their mind. Okay, so how to see the Fibonacci spiral? So Fibonacci spiral was made. So imagine that you're placing squares within a frame, and you keep drawing arcs from the opposite corner of each frame. So as you see that, I'll just take the next image. Okay. So if it's visible to you, as you see, there are tiny squares and they're expanding. So from the opposite corner of each square, there's an arc which goes on from that point to all the other points, and it makes a big curve, uh, which goes to the other side of the image. So how to use this? So you should always place the area with the most details in a photo in the smallest box of the coil, or you can say on the right side of the frame on the image I have used. So, and all the other details are gone to the other side. So, and the person who sees this image, it appears that the curve flows through the frame and leads your eye around the picture. So that's how the golden spiral works. Okay, coming to the next topic. Okay, Sanket sir explained you yesterday about the three most basic and the most important things of ISO, aperture, and the shutter speed. And there is this thing about white balance, which is very important when it comes to taking photos or editing photos. So when you go outside and click photos during the daytime, you can say in the morning, around 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, when the sun rises, you see there is a bit of a warmth in the picture. And as the sun goes up, the picture becomes more cooler and cooler. And if you take photos in indoor lighting, so some of them have yellow lights, some of them have white lights. So the color of the light depends on how your temperature of a photo is looking. So white balance basically works on the concept that it standardizes all your images to temperature at around the sunset, which is the standard and the most soft light, which is the best for clicking photographs. So many professional cameras, if you have used one, have the concept of white balance where they have different modes, just tungsten, fluorescent, cloudy, flash, and shade. So what are these? These are basically different temperatures ranging from 3000 or 4000 kelvins to 7000 kelvins. So that's the range where you can see in the image that I've taken different photos with different temperatures and put them in a grid to show you how it goes from cool to warm when you change the temperature. And this is the perfect image where it's not much warm or not much cooler. Okay. So coming to the next concept is light. So Sangeet gave you all the concepts about the composition and the exposure, but there was some, and he gave you a brief idea about how lights and shadows work in an image. So, but he couldn't go to it much detail because there was less time. So today I'll be explaining a bit about it. Uh, so if you see that light and shadows work a very important role in creating your image because that's the main element of a photo. So in the first video, I'll be showing you how, I hope you all can see the video because of the lags. Yes, organizers.
Can see it.
You can see the video, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, okay, in the first video, you can see that the light is behind the image, the subject. So there is loss of details and shadows are coming upon the subject, which makes it a bit harsh and not suitable for clicking. And in the next video, you can see that the light is directly thrown upon the subject, which makes the person look better and with much more details. So going forward with the video, you can see that. Okay, so on the next slide, so there are two images which were clicked, one with the light behind the subject and one with light out of the subject. So you can see that there's a major difference between them. So always remember this point when clicking portraits or any of the images to where you want much details in the subject to keep the light directly focused on the subject other than keeping it behind the subject. There are many other concepts where we can take silhouettes or any such photos where the light is behind the subject, but that's another topic to cover. Okay. So now I'll be giving you a poll where you have to select between two options. So yeah, is the poll visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So we'll be getting answers.
Uh, Raghavendra,
Yes, sir.
there is one suggestion from one of the participant that we can also go with certain part of the presentation in Hindi.
Uh, okay, sir. Yes, sir. I'll try to make it.
There's just a suggestion.
Yes.
It is because I just now I read that in the question pane.
Okay, okay, sir. Yes, I'll
Right?
try to make it a bit conversational.
Okay.
Okay, so should I stop with the poll or I should wait? So I'll just wait for a minute. Okay, I see 69% have voted, 70. Okay. Okay, so that's it maybe. So I'll just wait for like 20 seconds and then I close the poll. Okay. So what are the answers we have got is 51% voted for high definition ratio or range and 49% voted for high dynamic range. Okay. Okay. So we'll get to that. Okay. So coming to the next slide, we can see that the answer for this is high dynamic range. So what is high dynamic range? So in most of your phones, there is a feature called the HDR. So you have the option for making it on or off. So what is this concept? If you see that if you go to some hill station or some beach side, there are two elements to the photo. One is the sea or the ocean or the valley, and one is the skies, which is filled with clouds. So to capture both of them equally with less harm to the shadows as well as the highlights, there is a concept called HDR, which takes photos in three conditions: one with the least shadows, one with the highest shadows, and one in between where it is not much exposed. And you see that the picture with the less shadows is this image where it is very overexposed and there are bright white spots which make the image not good and appealing. And with the picture which has more shadows, which is underexposed, the object which we want in focus is disturbed. So combining all the three images together, we get this image, which is the HDR image, which protects all the shadows and the highlights and gives you the photo which you actually want. Okay. Are there any questions regarding anything till now?
Answer for golden ratio and Fibonacci thing. So
Sorry.
I have questions for golden ratio.
Okay. I just check. Can you just speak out the question, please?
Bird's rule, you said human eye focus on top left corner of the frame. That is 40%, 41%. But in the golden ratio, you're told to
Okay.
keep
Okay.
the complex pattern in the right bottom. Why?
Okay. So I just forgot to get the point where. Just a second. Yeah. So if you see the golden ratio, uh, actually the golden ratio doesn't work in a way where you just have to keep it in the right corner. It can be placed in any corner or any square of the phi grid. So it may be here, here, or here, and the curve works according to the image where you have placed the golden ratio. So it doesn't just work for. I just placed it here because it works according to my image, but it's up to you where to place it. Okay, is that question answered? Shobit, sir.
Yeah, I think it
Question.
is answered.
Any other question?
Yes, there's one more
Something.
question. Does white balance have any scientific explanation like aperture does? It is asked
Okay,
by Pranjal Pai.
so white balance is basically what you see through your eyes. So uh, you must have seen that in around 5:30, 6 o'clock, it depends on the season. The light from the sun is very soft and there's not much harshness in it. So that is basically the light which is most effective and best for creating better and more focused pictures than the other kind of natural lights. So that is kept as a standard for all the other images, and white balance works according to that. So it makes your image uh, warm or cool according to the standard kelvins of that light. So that is how white balance works.
There's
It's the temperature.
uh, one more question
Sorry.
which you have already explained.
Okay.
What actually HDR do? So it is
Okay.
nothing but.
Uh, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So yes, yes. HDR is basically so you see that there are images where it's very dark or it's very overexposed. So if you go out in the sun, uh, there are images where there is a big white spot of the sun which is not very appealing to the eye. So what HDR does is it takes images with the least light and it takes images with the most light and combines both the images to make one good image where everything is perfect with all the highlights and all the shadows. So which gives this image.
Yeah, Raghu, I think it's understood. You can
Okay.
continue.
Okay. Uh, yeah. Okay. Coming to the next topic is patterns due to light. So light plays a very important role, as I said. So as now you're stuck in your homes and you have a lot of time to take pictures and go around doing experiments, you see that when you wake up in the morning, if you open the curtains or or you go outside, you see that there are light patterns which are formed due to light coming out of the window shades or some peepholes or the frames of windows. There are you can take many images using the same light, which will give you a very good creative ideas for the same. Okay, so I have a video where I've taken an image of light streaks coming from a window. So in through the video, I'll be explaining you how taking images work. Okay, so right now I'm taking the image from the front side where all the lights are coming right at symmetric with the stairs. So this is, and now I go to the other side where you can see that that is the source of light from where the light is coming. But if I just pause here, you see that there's a big spot of white light which is there, which is not, which is making the image look bad, and which is not what you actually want in the image. So to prevent that, what you do is everyone has this exposure meter. So this is the thing where you focus on the part which you want to expose or de-expose, and you just a second. Right? Yeah. So you just take the meter. That's the exposure meter, which makes that the area you are focused exposed or less exposed or overexposed. So which gives it a okay. So after checking all the angles, the image which was best for this condition was this image. So why this image is better, because you can see that the light streaks and the stairs are symmetric, and it gives you a better composition than all the other angles through which you can take the photos. So this was another photo which I took during the golden hour, which is the one I explained. That is the time where the light is more better and softer. So there was this light coming from the window inside my room. So I just kept an object on the floor, and you can see that the it's reflecting with some with the floor marble, and this image was captured using the same. There are not much edits in this photo. I just removed the shadows in this part of the image and made this part more light. Okay, so you saw that we had some natural light streaks and everything. So how to use these light streaks for your portraits? like sorry, clicking photos of your friends or relatives, anyone you want, or for photo shoots as well. So you see that the light streaks are used as a background for your portraits. So this work also works in the same way. Whenever you take a photograph, you see all the angles through which you can take the photo and see which angle gives you the best picture, which with less distractions and with the most composed image. So first I took the photo on the with the front way. Now I went to the back, but you see that the face of the person is not visible when I go to the back. And in the front side, you see that there are some distractions from the behind, so it won't be a very well composed image. So after seeing all the sides, the image you get is this, which is the first image you took with directly facing. So as Sankit explained you yesterday, that portraits, the eyes are very important. So this is not basically a very good portrait, but this is just a rough idea to give you about how to use backgrounds with the minimalistic backgrounds to take your portraits. Okay. Most of you have this feature called the panorama in your phones. So not many of you must have used it, or yeah, you can use it. So what are the users of this mode? So when you go to hill stations or any place where you have a 120-degree or a 180-degree scenery which you want to capture in your phones, but you can't because your phone has a limited area of capture. So what panorama does is, if you keep it on one corner of the so is explained in the recording. So if you keep it in one corner of the um, scene you want to take, you just go on scrolling from that corner to the part where you want to take the image, and after the entire image is taken, it looks like this. So you can use this for taking sceneries, as well as if you want one person to come in the entire frame multiple times, you can use this concept as well. But one problem with the panorama is that you need to keep your hand stable enough and in one position to take the entire image, because if you see from a mouse here, there are these spots where the image gets a bit unrealistic or disoriented due to the shake of your hand, so which makes it a bit um, bad. Okay. So are there any questions till now? So
No, I think we are fine.
okay. Okay. Coming to the next topic is frames. So when you click portraits of someone, uh, if you take them with no background or with no foreground, then there's not much. They are very simple, or you can say normal images where the portraits may come out good, but there's no creativity in them. So there's this concept of frames within a frame. So what is this? You can use man-made or natural frames, which you can see in your surroundings, to take your portraits. But to take these, you have to keep in mind that all the pieces of the frame are symmetric with your image and your camera, and you have to check if you're towards or against the light. So I've taken the same image with one um, picture against the light and one picture towards the light. So you can see the difference that there is one which is well lit up, and the other is the entire silhouette, which gives you a black image. And that's another concept which will be explained by Ritvik tomorrow. Okay. Um, so that's frame within frame. Okay. Black background. Uh, you must have seen some photos on social medias, or you must have clicked them as well, where the entire background is black. and there's just the object which is kept in the front, which looks very detailed and everything, and there's nothing in the background. So how do people take these images? So this is just a behind the scenes of an image I took a few days back. So what I basically did was I kept the object which I want to capture on a surface. So for reflection, I kept a mirror thing, and I just focused one light with the entire room was dark, and I took the image from here. So if I take the image from this side with the entire light focused on the object, this is what it turns out to be. Okay, so you can see the rainbow behind. That's because I had kept a disk. So if you refract light on some disk, you see rainbow colors. And if you keep the light focused on the middle, then the entire disk get lit up. So that's how this photo was taken. And there are not much edits in this picture because I took it in a very shadowy region where the entire room was dark. So there was no scope for any other thing to be lit. That's why the entire background is dark. Um, the concept of making the background dark in edits in post processing will be explained by Sanket sir tomorrow in his post processing on mobile session. So you can learn the concept there as well. Okay. Okay, hiding harsh light. So if you go outside to take photos during the daytime in the afternoons, so you see that if you take this photo of the sun directly, there's a big white spot which comes on your photos, which is not very visually appealing to everyone, and it makes your image look distracted, and the details of the images are lost. So how to get rid of this? So what you do is try to hide the sun behind some object or some tree or anything that is there in your image, so that it does not directly throw the light on the lens of your phones or your DSLRs, which turns out to be this. So if you see that the same image, if taken with the sun behind the trees, the photo is much better with all the details of the skies as well as the grassland. So it's a well composed image as well. So this is another example where the coconut tree. So you can see that this is the one white spot which is coming. So if you just keep it entirely behind the coconut tree, then it's gone and the image is much better. Okay. Okay, the rule of odds. So what does the rule of odds say? The rule of odds is basically the concept where um, you have to see that the objects you take for clicking pictures, the objects you take for clicking pictures have to be in the numbers of 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9, or in any odd numbers, as it just gives you a better and organized image than if you keep them in numbers of 2, 4, 6, or 8. So it's not necessarily applied to all the variations, but it's just a concept where uh, when you see some image, it looks better and more organized to you. Any doubts till now for the previous topics?
Raghu, you
Shobit sir.
can show the panorama video again once because there
Okay,
was
okay,
slight lag in the
okay, yeah. So this is gone. So if you see that first, she was standing there. So I took that image. So I waited for her to go outside the frame. Then when she went that side, I took the entire frame and waited here till the time she gets to that side of the frame. And then I again went that side till the part where I want the image. And that's how the image was taken. So is the video okay now?
Yes, the video is okay. You can show the final picture once again.
Yeah. So this was the final image which was taken. you can use this idea in your homes for taking some creative pictures with your family members, where one person can be seen multiple times in your images. Okay. So is there anything else?
No, Raghu, we are fine to proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Clip-on lenses. So you must have seen that digital cameras have big lenses for them to take different kind of images, where some are the 300 or the 150 lenses, which are used for taking different kinds of images. So in the same way, but not all kinds, there are some lenses which can be used for your phones uh, to take images with different perspectives. So these are the different types of clip-on lenses, where the first is macro lens, second is fisheye lens, the third is the wide-angle lens, the fourth is the filter lenses, and the fifth the zoom lens. So all these lenses have different types of what you can say function for their own operating. So this is how clip-on lenses work, and I use the clip-on lens to take some macro photographs because I don't have a clip-on lens right now, so I can't show you a demo of it. So this is one photo I'd taken, which was not with a clip-on lens, but with my camera, with just my camera. When you go a bit close to the insect or any object, you can take these photos with focusing your image on the object. And this was taken with, I guess, a Samsung phone with the auto mode, not the manual mode. And these are the other photos we had taken with a clip-on lens by Opti. So okay, so there are many companies in today's time which make clip-on lenses for your phones. So some are like Oki, there's movement lenses, and there are many other companies which use and make clip-on lenses for you to take better images and to get creative with your ideas. So you can see that the macro photos are basically that where you get minute details of your image. So if you see this leaf from some distance, you won't be able to see the details and the veins and the water droplets so perfectly uh, if you take the image without the macro lens. And this flower is also taken where you can see the pollens as well. And that's macro. And okay, so most of you had this question on how to use the pro mode in your phones. So most of the phones or Android phones have the manual mode in them, which gives you the ability to manually adjust the shutter speed, the aperture, the white balance, and the focus as well. So yeah, the Apple phones and the Google phones don't have this feature, so that's one thing. But most of the phones have. So this is one video where I've just explained how the different concepts work. Okay, so this is how the focus is adjusted. So you can see the green lines which have come. So now the lines are on this, and now the entire image defocused. And when I take it in the between, uh, only the car is focused. You can see the green lines. So where the car is focused, and the second part is the shutter speed. So as explained by Sanket, the shutter speed. So if we make the shutter speed 1 by 20, 1 by 40, the image will be more exposed because there will be more time for light to come in. And if you take the shutter speed to 1 by 100, 1 by 200, 1 300, there will be less light coming in, which will make it a better and a less exposed image. So, and this is the ISO which can be adjusted in your phones. making it from 50 to 800 in a Samsung phone. I don't know about the other phones, but you can use this in any phone you have. So the aperture is fixed basically in most of the phones because there's a single lens, so there's not much you can do about it. So there's the ISO, the shutter speed, and the white balance and the focus you can change. And so these are three images which can be taken using this. And so you can see that this image is overexposed. Why overexposed? Because I've made the shutter speed very less, which is around 1 by 20, 1 by 40, which is making major light coming inside the image. So that's the image taken by that. And this image is where, sorry, this image, in this image, you can see that it's a bit dark, but not the shadows are not gone because it is taken at around 1 by 800, 1 by 900 shutter speed, where there's very less light amount coming in because the shutter opens and closes in a very less amount of time. So, seeing all the adjusting all the three things, the final image which can be taken using this is this one. So in this image, I've kept the ISO at around 100 and the shutter speed is around 1 by 200, 1 by 300 because there was major light coming in from the sun at around 5:30 or 5 o'clock in the evening. So, and you can see that I've also used the rule of thirds here where where the object is kept on an intersection point of one of the points of the rule of the grid. So always remember that whenever you take the photos in a phone cameras, you have to keep the grid on. Always in the settings, there is an option for keeping the grid on, which will make you image more composed and better. Okay. Optical and digital zoom. So most of the like all the phones in today's generation have two types of zoom in their phones. One is the optical zoom and one is the digital zoom. So what are these actually? So you must have seen in ads, or you must be having the phone where the optical zoom. They say that we have an optical zoom of 10x or 15x or more than that. So you can see that um, optical zoom is basically the actual lens adjustment. So when you see that there are phones which there are cameras with lenses where you actually zoom into the picture and not just manually adjust in the camera itself. So all cameras have optical zoom, and digital zoom is basically how the camera adjusts in the camera itself. So that is how if you take a photo and in the edit you just crop the photo out. So that is how digital zoom works, and optical zoom is a true zoom. So I've taken two images so to show the difference between the optical and digital zoom. So this image was taken in my phone, which has a 2x optimal zoom. So this was at the 2x point. So you can see that the all the details of the images are there. And the second image was taken at around 6.5x, where you can see that the details in the images are lost, and it is not a very well composed image because it's digitally zoomed and it just doesn't make the image look that appealing. Okay. Are there any doubts till now?
Yes, Rabu. Some people are asking that they don't have manual mode in their phones.
Okay.
So
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
I would like to answer that. Some yes, there might not be a manual mode on your phone, but you can improve your phone photography by focusing more on composition and the zooms.
Yeah.
What was taught
Uh,
yesterday and today.
I would also like to add a point where all these images that you're seeing in this entire presentation have been taken with my phone, which doesn't have a manual mode in it. So if you see these images, or I'll show this image. So all these images were taken with no manual mode in it. just using the exposure meter and some lights or anything that you can use for experimenting. So yeah, is that answered?
Yes, Raghu.
Any more questions?
There's one question.
Yes, sir.
There's one question, a good question. Why do new smartphones tend to have more number of cameras? How does it helps?
Why do smartphones have more number of cameras?
Cameras. Nowadays, we
Okay,
can
okay.
see number of new cameras with multiple
Yes, yes.
cameras in the phone.
Right, right. So basically, why they have kept more and more cameras in today's phones are because I showed you the slide of the clip-on lenses. So basically, these lenses. So what today's phone have done that they have just fixed these lenses inside their phones um, in the manufacturing itself, so that you don't need to take these lenses. So every lens has different meaning for them. So in your phone, if there is a lens which is wide angle lens, so wide angle basically what it does is it makes your image more wide and you have a more bigger perspective to see surroundings. And there's a telephoto lens. Then some cameras also have a macro lens inbuilt. So that's the one where you use the different kind of lenses in your phones. That's why they have manufactured more number of lenses in your phones. Uh, so is that answered?
There's one
Raghu.
question.
Yes, sir.
While using slow motion feature, my images always become darker. Can you explain why does this happens?
While using
Slow
slow
motion
motion.
feature.
Okay, okay.
Huh.
So I guess Sanket will be able to explain this concept a little better because he has used more slow motion features. So please, can Sanket just turn on his mic and give a better explanation to this? Or Shobit sir as well. Are they audible?
Yes, okay, I'll take this question. So basically, what happens is basically this slow motion is a concept of videography. We are not covering videography that much, but I'll still tell you. So what happens is if you might be knowing that the normal frames per second, what we use in a video is 1 by 24 or 1 by 30, as we say. But in case of slow motion, we go up to 1 by 60, 1 by 120, or 1 by 240. So what we are doing is we are slowing down, like we are taking more frames in a single second. So that basically, in a single second, more number of images are getting uh, captured. So that will automatically give less time to the images to get captured. So yesterday you learned that if we increase the shutter speed, if we get less time to capture the photos, then it will reduce the light because we are giving it less time to take the light. I think this would be it. But
Um,
Okay, Raghu, go ahead.
yeah, sir. Actually, I'm done with all the slides. So I'll be
Okay,
just
okay.
taking the questions for now.
Okay, you can take the
there are
questions
many
from the question
questions.
pane. There are many questions coming up.
Yeah. So can Shobit and like they can just tell me which questions should I take? Hello.
Uh, just a minute. Have you opened the question pane?
Yes, yes. I've opened the question page. Yeah.
So there's one asked by Abhishek. Budget
Budget
phone
phone
camera.
cameras
Uh,
don't have a pro mode. So how do you set up a budget phone setting for better photos? Okay, so any phone you use have their exposure meters for them. So basically, so as I explained earlier, the photos I've taken in my phone also don't have a manual mode. So what you do is you use different kinds of light and different settings, like just use the exposure meter and the different light settings for taking your images. So that's the most you can do with your phones when you don't have a manual mode. So that's basically a difference between a manual mode and the automatic mode, that you just have the exposure meter for making your photos look better. And the other things you can do are in your environment in which you're clicking the photos. So give better lights to it and use different kinds of settings of light to you make your photos more visible and more creative. Okay.
Raghu, there is
That
another question.
Yeah.
How to click raw photographs over the phone?
Which photos?
Raw pictures, raw quality pictures.
Okay, raw pictures. So
Yeah.
I guess raw is a feature which is coming in most of the Android phones right now. So the raw is basically a type of image which you get, which is mostly used for better post processing. So why people take photos in RAW is because there are all the details, the shadows and the highlights of the photo are intact in the image, and you have a better chance of post processing. So the concept of post processing will be explained, obviously explained by Sanket and by Vedant as well in the Photoshop session. So he'll be giving you a more better idea about how to use raw photos in your image, in your editing. So that's how. So raw, basically you can use raw by going into the settings and changing the type of image you want to take.
So can you elaborate a bit more on capturing sunsets and sunrises and sunsets in pro mode? You can tell them the exif.
Okay, okay. For capturing sunrises and sunsets in pro mode, basically what you do is the less the ISO is, the more better your image is. So while the sun is rising, you can use settings such as okay. So I'll just show you a photo in my starting of the presentation. I would use a photo. Okay, so this image. So this image was taken at the time of the sunset at around 6:30, where it
Wait a
had
bit,
just
there's a
rained.
lag.
Okay,
There's a lag. Yeah, you can go ahead now.
okay. So basically, this image was taken at around 5:30, 6:30, when the sun was just about to set, and it had just rained. So there were many clouds, and as you can see, so the EXRs for this image can be that the ISO is kept as low as possible, and the shutter speed you can keep at around 1 by 100, 1 by 120, because there's not much movement in your photo. So you don't need to keep the shutter speed higher, and you want a bigger depth of field. So keep your aperture as high as possible, so that you have a bigger depth of field with all the areas of your photo in focus. So that's how you can take the sunset and sunrise photos using a manual mode.
Let's
One
go to
question,
the next question.
Sanket.
Yeah,
There's one question repeatedly asked. That is, does clip-on lenses worth buying? Can you answer this?
works. Worth what?
Does
I didn't get the
clip-on
question.
lenses worth buying? Clip-on lenses.
Worth buying? Yes, absolutely. If you wish to buy a clip-on lens, you can go and buy one for macro photographs and for wide angle or fisheye photographs. I'll just show you an image of how fisheye photos actually work. Okay, just a second. Yeah. So you can see these images. So all these images are taken using fisheye lenses. So you can see how it gives you a very different perspective to see in your image. So that's how a fisheye lens is used. And macro photos, I also showed you these images are taken. So in this and this. So basically macro photo lenses give you much details into your photos, and you can get more creative with your ideas using these lenses. So from my perspective, it's worth buying.
There's another question. How to capture moon pro mode with right setting?
Okay, the moon. Um, uh, if you are capturing the moon with a phone, then it's a bit difficult to capture the moon because your phone doesn't have that much zoom, optical zoom for you to get close to the details of the moon. So, getting the concept of taking pictures with the of the moon, you can take better images using cameras, digital cameras, which will be explained by Rutvik in tomorrow's session on how to use digital cameras and about all the settings which can be used in that process.
With some phone you can
It
capture
does.
moon like the there's one phone P30 Lite from Huawei. So they have said that you can capture moon from our photo. It's around 38 zoom for that phone. So बहुत सारे फोन्स में ऐसा फीचर होता है, या फिर जैसे रघु ने क्लिप ऑन लेंसेज का बताया, तुम्हारे पास अगर टेलीफोटो लेंस है मोबाइल की क्लिप ऑन लेंस, तो टेलीफोटो लेंस अगर तुम फोन पे लगाते हो तो तुम्हारा जो फोकल लेंथ है वो ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है, तो उसके साथ तुम फोटोज ले सकते हो मून के।
Yes, sir. Uh, any other
What does
question?
AI feature do in a mobile camera? So basically, they don't know what is the difference between the portrait of a phone camera and a portrait lens which we use. You can elaborate that.
The portrait lens in digital cameras and the portrait which we use in phones, right?
Which we use in phone.
Yeah. So I'll just get back to an image which I clicked recently. Okay. So if you see this image, is the image visible? Hello, Shobit sir?
Yes, it is visible now.
Yeah.
Visible, visible.
So if you see this image, I've taken this image in the portrait mode of your phone, of my phone. So I've used the rule of thirds where the person is standing in the intersection point of the grid. And what's the difference is that phone cameras have it varies on the price range of your phone on how better quality of photos it can take. So budget phone cameras have a bit of a lag in the portrait images where the focus is not done that better and there are some details lost in the images. So it's better if you use a portrait cameras if in your phones if it is of a better AI and better post processing it has. And digital cameras obviously have better processing in it, which gives the lens more settings of aperture as well as shutter speed and ISO. So it gives you better images of portraits. That's why professional photographers don't use phone cameras for taking portraits, and they use the cameras like digital cameras for taking all their shoots. So that's it for that question. Shobit, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Raghavendra, you are
There's
audible.
one
Yes, sir.
question. Raghu,
Yeah, yeah.
hello.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Do we find digital zoom? The question is asked by Sagar.
What?
How do we find optical and digital zoom?
Okay. So basically every phone is given the details of the specifications of your phone. So in that you have given that how much optical zoom can your phone take and how much digital zoom can your phone take. So that's how. So if you go onto your phone settings, I'll just show you a video of my phone where I've taken some photos. Yeah. So in this video, you can see that. Just a second. Yeah. There are three options for me to take optical zoom photos. So one is 0.5x. So I'll be just making the change. So this is the 2x. So that is the maximum optical zoom I can make in my phone. And so after that, all the zoom which I will do is all digital. So that's basically cropping the photo out. So that's how you can know that how much digital zoom or how much optical zoom your phone actually has. Okay, that's the question.
Can you talk about grains in the photos? Some people are asking about that.
Okay, greens. Okay, so as I showed you the video of the pro mode, and as Sankit explained you the concept of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. So as you uh, take the ISO higher and higher in images, there are chances of getting more and more grains in a photo. So what are grains is basically that you can see a small dots, and the image gets very grainy. Like for example, if you see, how can I explain? If you've seen the TV, when the TV has no cable, there are small grains which come on the TV screen. So that it's not that dense, but that's basically a rough idea of how the picture becomes more grainier. So the concept of the ISO shutter speed, in that concept, the less the ISO you have, the better is the image, and more less is the grains in the image. So that's how the concept of grains work. Yeah. So
Raghu, there is another question.
yes.
While taking a group photo, sometimes the faces become blurred.
Faces become blurred. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I talked about Sankit about the depth of field in the doubt session. So that is basically how you see how many people in your picture you want to be focused. So the more the aperture you have in your photo, the more people are you can say focus, and the less the aperture, the less the people are focused. So if you use an aperture of 2.03, then only one or two people in your image can be focused, and as you go higher and higher, more people can be focused, and you have a better group image to take. So it all depends on the aperture settings in your cameras and your phone.
Okay.
What
There
is
is another question, Raghu.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Continue, Shobit.
what is meant by megapixel? So you can explain on this.
What is meant by, sorry?
Megapixel in a phone camera.
I didn't get the. Just a second, right?
Oh, am I audible?
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
What is meant by megapixel?
Okay. Yeah.
I think his voice is not audible. You can answer the question.
Okay. So मैं आंसर करूँ ये क्वेश्चन कैसे बोल रहे हो? ठीक है, एक सेकेंड। तो मेगापिक्सल मतलब क्या होता है, जो तुम्हारा इमेज रहता है वो एक्चुअली स्क्वायर पिक्सल्स का कंप्राइज होता है। लाइक जो भी तुम्हारे पास इमेज होता है वो इट इज कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ लॉट ऑफ पिक्सल्स। तो 1 मेगापिक्सल इज 1 मिलियन पिक्सल। तो जो पिक्सल का जो रेजोल्यूशन होता है वो हर कैमरा का अलग अलग रहता है। तो वो तुम देख सकते हो कि तुम्हारा जो 1 पिक्सल है वो कौन से रेजोल्यूशन का है, वो हर कैमरा टू कैमरा, सेंसर टू सेंसर डिफर करता है। तो 1 मेगापिक्सल इज 1 मिलियन पिक्सल। तो तुम्हारा अगर कैमरा 25 मेगापिक्सल है तो तुम्हारा जो फोटो है, तो तुम्हारे जो एक फोटो में जो 25 × 1 मिलियन पिक्सल, तो उतने पिक्सल तुम्हारे एक फोटो में है। तो जितना ज्यादा मेगापिक्सल उतना ज्यादा तुम्हारे कैमरा का रिजोल्यूशन होता है। आई थिंक द डाउट इज क्लियर नाउ।
We have a question on axis. What is an axis in the photographs while clicking the
Just a
photographs?
minute. Yeah. He has posted it in our group. Let me just read out it again. Would you brief on axis? What is the axis considered with the ground? So I think you're talking about the grid line and the normal ground. Because जो एक्सिस होता है, मुझे एक्चुअली समझा नहीं कि एक्सिस कौन सा एक्सिस बोल रहे हो। लेट सपोज अगर तुम एक इमेज जो है उसका होरिजन और तुम्हारा जो ग्रिड लाइन है उसको मैच करने वाला एक्सिस बोल रहे हो, या फिर वो जो तुम्हारा फोटो है वो कैमरा में एक बीच में ग्रीन कलर का एक्सिस रहता है जो कि बताता है तुम्हारा फोटो जो है वो स्ट्रेट है कि नहीं है। तो अगर तुम वो स्ट्रेट है कि नहीं है उसके बारे में बता रहे हो, तो वो तुम्हारा जो ग्राउंड एंड हॉरिजॉन है उसको अगर तुम्हारा फोन मैच कर रहा है तो वो ग्रीन पे बताएगा। तो तुम बोल सकते हो कि तुम्हारा जो फोटो का कंपोजिशन है वो सही है। एक बार मुझे क्लियरली बताओ कि कौन सा एक्सिस के बारे में बात कर रहे हो तुम। There's another question. Would you clarify the phone camera settings and options when and how to be used? तो फोन अभी जो सारा प्रेजेंटेशन बताया उसमें उसने कैमरा सेटिंग्स लाइक प्रो मोड एक्सप्लेन किया, एक्सपर्ट मोड एक्सप्लेन किया। तो और कौन से सेटिंग्स है उसमें, और कौन से सेटिंग्स होते हैं, लाइक ग्रिड लाइंस वाला होता है, एचडीआर ऑन ऑफ वाला होता है, और लाइक और कौन से होते हैं। तो हाउ इट इज यूज, तो ग्रिड लाइंस जो है वो आई विल सजेस्ट दैट यू शुड टर्न ऑन योर ग्रिड लाइंस ऑलवेज। ठीक है। और उसके बाद में और ऑप्शन है लाइक एक्सपर्ट मोड है। तो तुमको अगर नॉर्मल फोटोग्राफ नॉर्मल जो मोड है उससे अगर तुम्हें फोटो नहीं मिल रहा है और तुम्हारा जो एक्सपोजर ट्रायंगल का नॉलेज है वो अच्छा है, तो तुम एक्सपर्ट मोड यूज करके तुमको जो आइडियल आउटपुट मिलना चाहिए वो तुम ये कर सकते हो। In theory, how the X and Y and Z axis are used?
I think he's talking about perspective.
Perspective, dude, you will get it by the grid lines, the 3 by 3 grid lines. So there is no such X, Y, and Z axis. Like I don't know about what theory you're talking about.
Sanket, we can unmute that particular participant. Let me unmute him.
Okay, sir. Sir, his name is, I guess, Prathamesh Gaddam.
Prathamesh.
His
Unmute.
left.
No, unmute yourself, Prathamesh Gaddam. Unmute yourself, Prathamesh Gaddam. Yes. Yes. Go ahead, Prathamesh. Go ahead with your query. Prathamesh, go ahead with your query. We are unable to hear you.
I guess he has some problem with the network. Yeah, he's speaking.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hope everyone can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So axis part, yeah, it is from the perspective side related. So I need to understand that when we are holding a camera, so how the axes are aligned means from the perspective, if I need to put a camera at a particular angle. So how it is, these x-axis is aligned with the ground and the z and the y-axis, how we because whenever the lighting or the camera positions are placed in the 3 dimension, it's a X, Y, and Z axis. So when taking a photograph, so if I need to explain to somebody that I have taken this picture at this particular X and Y, Z axis angle, and this is how I got the perspective of a picture. So how to, what is the, if I take a perspective photograph, how I need to measure that, which coordinates part and which angle related I need to, it's ideal one, we need to use it. For example, tilting horizontally or vertically, it's a good angle, or it is not too, don't do's or do's are there.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, Sanket.
Yes. Okay. So you're talking about X, Y, and Z axis. So let me clear what those are. So X axis is basically the horizontal line of your frame. Y axis is the vertical line of your frame, and the Z axis is your front and back and forth of your image. Like let's suppose take an example of leading line. So what we'll do, the z-axis is what in that frame. So leading lines will lead you towards a particular subject. So you can tell the viewer that this line is leading me towards a particular subject. So you can consider that as a z-axis, as you have your x-axis and y-axis as a horizontal and vertical axis. Okay, so
So
this
if
is
I
the
need
basic
to,
part. Yeah.
okay,
Yes, please.
got it. So if somebody is saying that 180-degree panorama view, I'm taking it. So this is on the y-axis, we'll be explaining now.
In a panorama picture, right? Raghu, can you
Yes.
please display the panorama picture?
Yes, yes.
So if somebody is saying that I have taken the 180-degree or 120-degree of panorama view, so do we need to consider this on the y-axis? We have taken 180-degree view.
Not actually.
Prathamesh, I
I
would
think
like to
the
say in
answer. Yeah.
photography, Sanket, just let me brief it.
Yes, yes, yes.
In photography, we don't talk in terms of axes, majorly X, Y, or Z. If we are talking about perspectives, we can say that we can use a portrait image or a landscape image. So we don't usually talk in terms of X and Y and Z axis. If you want to talk about panorama image, it is obviously you are moving in the side of an X axis. So we in terms of photography, we say that we are moving horizontally.
Okay, got that. It's clear. And towards the second part of the question, the options, yeah, most of the options were covered. I was looking for the one option that when we make a long press on the camera screen, we get a circular button where we can control the brightness, and other few more options are there. They have given some straightening option and some alignment. So how that relates, are what are the tricks, or generally how what is the purpose when they are using that options? If some idea, it would be helpful.
Okay, shall I
To
speak
tell
on
them?
this?
Yes, Sanket, go ahead.
ठीक है, तो जैसे मैंने बताया कि जो मीटरिंग रहता है वो एक्चुअली तुमने अगर वो ग्रीन लाइन बोला है, तो ग्रीन लाइन बेसिकली क्या होता है कि तुमको जैसे बताया कि तुम जो भी फ्रेमिंग करते हो, जब ग्रीन लाइन ऑन करते हो, तो तुम्हारा फ्रेम जो है वो स्ट्रेट है कि नहीं है, हॉरिजॉन्टल एंड वर्टिकली, तो वो बताने के लिए वो जो बीच वाला ग्रीन एक्सिस है वो ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है। जब वो येलो होता है तो तुम्हारा फ्रेम जो है वो स्ट्रेट नहीं है एज कम्पेयर टू द हॉरिजॉन, एंड जब वो ग्रीन हो जाता है तो तुम्हारा फ्रेम बोल सकते हो कि तुम्हारा वो फ्रेम जो है वो स्ट्रेट है। और तुमने जो दूसरा बोला कि जब तुम लॉन्ग टेक करते हो तो वहां पे एक ऑप्शन आता है एएफ लॉक। तो एएफ मतलब रहता है ऑटो फोकस। तो ऑटो फोकस लॉक मतलब तुम्हारा जो सब्जेक्ट है उस पर तुमने फोकस एक बार लॉक किया तो वो जो फोकस में जो सब्जेक्ट है वो डिफोकस नहीं हो जाएगा। तो उसके हिसाब से तुम्हारा जो एक्सपोजर लेवल है वो तुम कम ज्यादा कर सकते हो। So this part, I guess, this part is cleared. I guess that dial wala part. And there's another option when you long press your shutter button, it will take burst. It will photos in burst mode. It will take the photos in burst mode. I think
Uh,
this is clear.
yeah, it is clarified. Thank you for that.
Okay. Sankhya, I guess we should wrap up the session, I guess, because we are out of time.
Yes, yes.
And
Yes,
we'll
yes.
be taking all the other doubts in tomorrow's doubt session from 4:30 to 4:50. So thank you for your time.
Okay. Shobit?
I think some people have some more doubts. We will surely take it in the next session from 4:30. Today, a lot less people joined the doubt session, so I would encourage everyone to join this doubt session. We'll be answering your questions directly. So yeah,
the
that's it
the link
from.
for the link for doubt clearing session will be the same which has already posted in the group, whereas the link for regular webinar will also be the same which are again posted today on the group. So we'll meet tomorrow for the third session. Bye bye.